it's Tracy from Two Rocks Tarot with another instalment of Ancient Voices, and this particular lady that I'll be speaking to is a 2,500-year-old tattooed ice princess. The reason she's called the Ice Princess because when her tomb was found, her sarcophagus was actually like a solid block of ice, which they actually melted to get to the body itself, which of course has created quite a bit of a stir. It's been going on for a number of years. So she was actually found and excavated by a, these are really hard words for me to pronounce, but it's a Novosibirsk scientist, Natalia Polosmak, I hope that's right, in 1993, and was heralded as one of the most significant archaeologist discoveries of the 20th century. So in September of 2003, there was a series of earthquakes, floods, and hailstorms, and locals actually wrote letters complaining about how the removal and other excavations caused these disruptions as, quote, earning money from the display of their naked bodies is contrary to human values. This is not superstition, neither is this a whim, this is wisdom which has arisen from the depths of centuries. So in 2012, when the Pazyrk Museum had been given the proper facilities, they sent the Ice Maiden back to her homeland, where she rests in air-conditioned peace. She's likely to remain alone as the Yukok has been declared out of bounds, so that's where she was found, the Yukok Plateau, to archaeologists despite the protests of scientists that this would deprive the world on knowledge. Yeah, I don't know. So this lady had the most amazing tattoos, and that they looked like they had just been done when they were actually 2,500 years old. Here is one of them. So this is a deer. As you can see, its rear is twisted in the Scythian animal style with the griffous beak and antlers sprouting either griffin heads or flowers. Now in 2014, it was revealed after an MRI scan that the woman, to have believed around 25 to 28 when she died, had actually suffered from breast cancer. While she is believed to have used cannabis for medical reasons to ease her suffering. So I was actually going to get this tattooed on me. When I found out that she died of breast cancer, it kind of seemed like a little bit of a bad juju for me. So I've decided not to go ahead and get that actual tattoo. It's just something tells me not to get it, so I'm not going to get it. Now, it was believed that tattoos would be helpful in another life, making it easier for the same family and culture to find each other in death. They also signified age and status, so the more that you had, the older you were and the higher was your position. So you all know how I feel about bodies being put on display. I just think it's disrespectful, you know. Okay, they want to learn about the ancient past and everything like that, but there has been a big outcry wanting her to be placed back. There is a gentleman in particular, which I'm going to put a link down to the article. In 2016, a legal bid had failed. He wanted her returned to the plateau where he could build they could build a proper grave representative of her status, and that has been knocked back. The scientists, the museum people think that it's that it's pointless doing it. So they just don't really they don't think about the spiritual side sort of thing. So based on what I've read about her, I've come up with a series of questions, and we'll see how she goes. So when I do these particular types of readings, I keep the person in mind who I'm going to be doing the reading constantly in the few days. So I've actually been thinking about doing this one for a couple of months. It's just taken me a while to get round to it. And I'm just going to squish my head a bit. I really need a haircut. It's all sticking up everywhere. So I do actually spend quite a bit of time with the person, the spirit that I want to connect with. And I decided to use the Shining Tribe Tarot because these were based to be these people's on shamans. So I'm thinking that this would actually be a good deck to use. So let's get to it. So I'll just grab the cards. And so I'm just going to spend a minute shuffling and connecting with her spirit. So the first question I'm going to ask, was there a particular reason you were buried on the Yukok Plateau? Now, if I'm pronouncing this wrong, I'm really, really sorry, but, you know, I'm not Siberian, so it's really hard for me to pronounce these. So hopefully I'm saying it right. That one just sort of come out to the side. This is very interesting card to get, and it'll come clearer as we progress in the actual reading. So I've actually got the Strength card. I'll probably will put the actual cards up on the screen, but I'll show them as I pull them. So we got the Strength card. So this really kind of answers another question that I'm going to be actually asking, which is the very next card here. But I believe that she was buried, and it's quite interesting because if you look at that article that I'll put the link down there, there's an actual picture of the burial mound that the gentleman who's fighting to get her returned back to be buried in her homeland instead of on display in a museum. Although the museum has now said they're not going to actually show her body, they've just done the replica of her gravesite on there, which is what's on the thumbnail there. That's how it was a replica that's in the museum now, not her actual body. And that mound pretty much looks like what he wants to build, almost exactly. So I believe the reason she was buried there was to give strength to the land, and the reason will become clearer because the next question I'm going to ask is why this gentleman believes she should be returned, and the question is, were you to be a guard? So were you to be a guard to the gates of the underworld to prevent evil from the lower worlds of escaping? And having strength like that, I believe that's exactly right, because even if you look at that, it almost looks like a gateway there, doesn't it, underneath there? So were you to be a guard to the gates of the underworld to prevent evil from the lower world escaping? And look what we got. The Hanged Woman. The Hanged Woman. So in this deck, it's not a man, it's the actual Hanged Woman. And I believe, yes, definitely, because, you know, we all know that it can represent, the Hanged Woman can represent a moment, suspension. It's a card where you can't move forward, you're just sort of stuck where you are. So placing her there, her people believed that she would actually prevent evil from the lower worlds from escaping. So as I mentioned before, when they removed the body in 2003, there was lots of earthquakes, hails and storms and floods that weren't native to the region, okay? So it's something that never happened to their land before, and that's why they believe the removal of the Ice Princess has caused them. So I'm asking, is your removal, why, now I hope I pronounced this right, the Altai region have been having earthquake, floods and hail because you are no longer guarding the gates to the underworld? And that one just, actually, no, I'll keep on doing it. I don't think that's right. So, I got two on that one. I'll take. Okay, so as you can see, the two cards that turned out was the World and the Fool. So the World they call the Shining Woman in this particular deck. And definitely, she was, if you just have a look at the image on this particular World card, yes, she was definitely placed there to guard the underworld from evil. I mean, I know nowadays everybody, particularly scientists and that, everybody poo-poos, spiritual beliefs in one way or another, whether they stem from thousands of years ago to nowadays. There's always somebody that's doesn't believe, and particularly if they are scientists and they want to prove, they just want to study what they just see as a body. They don't look at it from a spiritual aspect. And because we've got the Fool there as well, it's showing that that they're very foolish for removing her body, because that's exactly what she was doing. So because they have removed her body, yeah, they've been having earthquakes, they've been having floods, they've been having hail. It's all types of weather that wasn't native to the region, is what the locals are saying. And that's why so many of them have written to the museum to ask them to return her back. So she was definitely, that's why all this weather has been happening. I mean, and just have a look at the world around us. People don't care about Mother Earth, and she's rebelling. We've had record floods here in Australia. We have fires, and it's happening all over the world. The Antarctic, not the Antarctic, sorry, all the ice is melting in the Antarctic sort of thing. I mean, when the hell are people going to wake up and realise that we're fucking up this world? There's plastics in the ocean. I read an article the other day where there's octopuses that are making their homes in broken bottles on the bottom of the sea. It's truly atrocious. So yes, this is why they've been having the earthquakes and everything like that, because it's not only her that's been removed. There's been quite a few others that are buried in the same plateau that have been removed as well and studied. And now they've actually put a stop to it. It's actually been stopped from, archaeologists have been stopped from digging, even though they're crying that, they're not going to learn things and so forth. But, when is enough enough? So this is what she's saying. Yes, that's why what's happening has been happening, is because she was removed from guarding the wall. And if you have a look at that, that looks like her presence is holding back. You could say that the rainbows, the waves there, are actually holding back forces that are wanting to come out. So it's very, very interesting, isn't it? Now, I actually had to redo this second part of the interview, so you won't see me shuffling, except for this particular question, because I actually forgot to ask it. So what I wanted to ask is, what meanings do your tattoos have for you? And it could be why this is actually stopped, because yeah. Say that one dropped out. Let's have a look. Oh, and we've got the sun. So I'll just hold that up and then I'll put a picture up there. The sun. So what meanings do your tattoos have for you? So what I'm drawn to is the figures that are holding hands underneath, and I feel like it's exactly what they say, is that they believe by having tattoos that their family members and ancestors would recognize them once they went to the other side, because the joining of the hands is what's really, really calling to me as well. And because the sun is joyous and happy, just like why we have tattoos nowadays, it makes us happy. I mean, we like adorning ourselves, whether it was with jewelry, with tattoos or whatever. So yeah, it makes it happy. And because the bull's head is there, which is actually, looks like a woman's uterus, some tattoos, I would believe for her, because she was a young woman, would have to do with fertility as well. In ancient Greece, and I think even maybe in Egypt, I'm not too sure now, they used to have paintings of the bull's head like that to encourage women when they were giving birth. So also, I would say the tattoos for her, not only the recognition, just to look good, but also, I presume, for fertility reasons as well. So the next question was, how do you feel being taken to your grave and flown to 2 different countries? And I got the 5 of stones for that one. So I think when I look at this particular card, it's shock at being taken away from her grave. And what I'm really pulled to is the little golden arch there underneath. I think, it was shock, and I kind of think it's a little bit of horror about everybody looking at her, because I'm really, the purple figure is the biggest one, so it's actually her that they are looking at. And I could say that the other 4 would be all the different people that have, flocked to have a look at her body. So I feel like that she's horrified. She wants to be put back where she was. And she doesn't like it that all these people are actually looking at her. And I'm going to dare say, because there's a cut there, it's not an actual cut, but that triangle in the chest, I feel like that even, the biopsies and things that are taking from her, it's killing her spirit. She doesn't like it at all, and it shouldn't be done. I mean, I don't know how much more has been done on her body, sort of thing. But we all know she's been run through scans and everything like that. And as I said, I was going to, have that tattoo done until I found out what she actually died of. So, she doesn't like it, and it's understandable, isn't it? The next question was, how do you feel now being kept in a building and not back in your original earth grave? And sorry, I was just looking, I was just looking at the cards because I packed them away and I had to, and I was making sure I got them in the right order. And how she feels, I've actually got 2 cards that popped up for that, and that was the 2 of Cups and the Chariot. She was very happy where she was in her grave, okay? And it's interesting that it's the 2 of Cups, because as I said in the beginning, she was actually frozen solid in her sarcophagus. And I don't know if the whole tomb was like that as well, but she was happy suspended in ice where she was placed lovingly 2,500 years ago, okay? She was happy. And then if you'll notice, you got that little tower, it looks like a little tower with a crack in it. And then, you know, literally her grave was cracked open. She had boiling hot water poured on her to defrost her. And, you know, and reason why we're having this reading now, you know, all these people looking at her. And the Chariot, I feel, is her wishes to be put back where she was. Now, there were horses buried with her in her actual grave. She wants to be back, okay? She wants to be back. And if you have a look at that Chariot, it looks like actually, I'm just going to pick it up. I don't know if that's a fox running along there by the river. She wants to go back. She wants to go back to where she was placed, okay? Definitely. And you can see by the look on this woman's face, is she was very happy where she was put, so she wants to go back. So how she feels is, is upset, you know, betrayed. You know, she doesn't want to be in this building. She wants to go back to where she was. The next question was, why were you buried alone and not with men as was the custom? And we got the gift of trees, and the first thing that I'm attracted to is the snakes that are wrapped around the trunk. And I think she was placed there because she was revered and honoured for her wisdom, because a snake is wisdom, is seen as wisdom, okay? Even though when you look at this particular image, it's that Adam and Eve biting the apple type of thing. Snakes were seen as wisdom, and as also as being able to, because we all know they shed their skin, so there's a bit of aspect of rebirth there as well. So I'm feeling that they perhaps thought placing her alone, she would be reborn. Of course, we never know if somebody was born, much like with the Dalai Lama, who, you know, they reincarnate and they actually go out and find them. So I don't know if this actually happened with her, if she was reborn as well. But it was also their final gift to her for in honour and reverence of the actual wisdom that she held. Yeah, so that for me, it was their final gift. That was their final gift to her by placing her on her own, because, you know, in reverence of her wisdom. The next question, because it was found out that she was actually shaved bald and she actually had a wig on. And so I asked her why was her head shaved bald and she wore a wig. And here you can see we've got the gift of birds. So the birds, of course, are swords in this particular deck. But the swords are represented by flutes, and that's what you can see flying above the head of the bird. Now, it's interesting to look at that, because when you're looking at the bird, it almost looks like it's bald, even though you know it's got feathers on it, but it kind of physically resembles the baldness of this woman. And the message that I got is so she could hear clearly the communication from the spirits, okay? So she could hear the spirits from the sky more clearly if she was bald. She got the messages much more clearly. They downloaded much more clearly, okay? Which wasn't the case for me when I lost my hair for chemo. I wasn't hearing any spiritual messages at all. They, you know, just besides from ones of healing. So we all know about mediums. They say, because, you know, a lot of questions people ask is, well, you know, how can you, don't you get bombarded, you know, hearing voices of spirit? And of course they learn how to shut the door and close it off so they can go about their normal life. And then when they want to communicate with spirit, they open up the door. So for her, the door was her wig. So when she wanted to cut off communication, when she just wanted to go about her daily life, she wore that wig. Okay, so she wore the wig. So what I'm getting a feeling, what I'm seeing visually in my eyes, is her sitting like on a throne, actually much like the back looking like the gift of trees there, the back there. So I see her sitting on a throne, and I see her taking off her wig and sitting hands like that and closing her eyes and then communing with spirit and then passing on the messages that she's getting to the audience that's in front of her. So this was a very, very special meaning behind being bald, and so she could communicate with spirit and pass on the messages that she needed to her people. So I'm very clearly seeing her sitting in a red gown, actually much like the colour on this card, in a red gown, and taking off her wig and placing it or giving it to somebody, and leaning back, closing her eyes, and receiving the messages from spirit and passing them on to the audience before her. Really, really clear that is, actually. And the next question I ask is, were you a priestess? And here we've got the place of stones. And because there is a goddess image, so that's Venus of Willendorf, that's the actual image that we've got there on the card. And then if you look at the deer, it's almost got like a human type face. So it's interesting the deer is there, and she had that tattoo as well. So I feel she was very much a priestess, a shaman, whatever they were called back, 2,500 years ago, definitely. And I actually asked also, because I got a feeling too with the gift of trees about, why she was buried alone, because that is an actual... the gift of the trees is fire, that she perhaps performed divination with fire as well. And having a look at the place of stones, she may have used stones as well. We don't really know, do we? But I definitely see the sitting in the chair and communing just straight on like that, just like you see mediums do nowadays. But I also feel, looking at this one, the place of stones, there could have even be a place where there were stones that she actually perform this communication with spirit, and she may have divined with stones as well. I then actually asked, because I had to refilm this, so I did ask, was it just a goddess-based religion? And then I got this card here, which is the Two of Birds, and I was very drawn to the snake wrapped around the legs, and I'd say no, it wasn't. She was very much a god and goddess-based. She did not I can't pronounce it. She did not favour more the goddess over the gods. It was balanced, okay? So the divine feminine and the divine masculine, it was very, very balanced. It wasn't all about the goddess. It wasn't all about the god. It was, they were combined. It was a very much balanced type of spirituality that she practiced, okay? So she wasn't just all goddess-based. The next question I asked, were you a goddess come to earth, a symbol of your people? Because somebody mentioned that in the article, that's what they thought she was. And as you can see, I've got the Emperor, which is very interesting. So what I'm thinking the Emperor represents is that she herself did not feel like she was a goddess that come to the earth. But I feel like that the chief, if it's a chieftain, a king, or whatever that was called back then, all them years ago in the tribe, whoever was the leader, thought that she was a goddess that come down to earth. And it's interesting too, because he's got the antlers over his head, so it's very much like the Green Man type of feeling. But then we have got the bull there as well. And as I said with the which card was it now that had the sun card with the tattoos, as you can see, the bull's head looks like a uterus. So he really does feel that she was a goddess that come to earth for the people, okay? He felt like that, but I don't really feel like she felt like that. She knew she was powerful, but I don't think that she felt like that. But for him, the Emperor can be about control. For him to control his people, I think he made his people feel like that's exactly what she was. Okay. I then asked, are you at peace? And funny enough, we got the Nine of Cups there. I didn't quite know what to make of that when I first drew this card, but having to re-film this video, I think that, because I ended up pulling another card for clarification, and I put that under there, the Eight of Stones. I feel like that her wishes were shattered, okay? I feel like the full cup in the middle represents her. And as you can see, it's got like, I'm just going to pull that up. Yeah, it's got a fish, and it's got water in there. She was happy in her frozen grave, and it shattered when they removed her from it. All the other cups represent her wishes that have been shattered from her removal of the grave. And because I wasn't quite sure, because I had in brackets if it was a negative card to pull another card, wasn't necessarily negative, the Nine of Cups, except now when I'm redoing this and looking at that card, this is what I feel it strongly resembles. And the Eight of Stones is, because if you have a look at the chains that are around the sun in there, you know, she really won't be at peace until she's back in the earth, until she's reunited with it. Because even the horses that were in her grave, now I don't know what happened to all the other grave goods, if they removed the horses, what they did with them all, I really don't know. Did they leave them there? But she wants to be reunited. She wants to be with, you know, her horses. She wants to be back in her grave. Definitely. It's really awful. I can't explain it. I understand, because I mean, I wanted to be an archaeologist. I understand wanting to learn about the past and people of the past. But you know, you can learn about that. Surely you can do all that without having to rip them out their graves. Or if you do take them out their graves, place them back there where they were, you know. I mean, just place them back and seal up the grave. And you've learned what you can from them and just leave it. I mean, that's what I strongly feel. So the next, what I asked, I actually thanked her for speaking with me today, and then I asked her if she had a final message for all of us, and then I got the Ace of Trees, which is a beautiful card, and her message is that we are all connected. Okay, we are all connected. You can see the umbilical cord that's attached to the tree, and that's her message, is that we are connected to nature. No matter how much we destroy Mother Nature, which, you know, mankind seems hell-bent on doing, we are connected to nature, and by killing nature, we're killing a part of ourselves. Okay, we're killing a part of ourselves. We're connected to all the elements, and we're connected to spirit as well. And from when we're in the womb, okay, from when we're just a little speck in our mother's womb and cradled in there, we are all connected, and that is her message. That is her message, is that we are connected to everything. And I even think the little stars, little sparkly stars above the trees, we're connected to the cosmos, we're connected to earth, we're connected to spirit, fire, air, water, earth, we're connected to it all. And her final message is not to forget that connection, on how we are connected, and to respect. To respect our elders actually just came up into my mind as well. Respect our elders, learn from them. Don't just ignore them and shove them away. We're all connected. We are all connected, and I think that's her biggest message, is that we are connected. And if we want to save the earth, we all have to realise that. You know, the politicians, the people who are in high-paying jobs, you know, that stupid Vladimir Putin, we are all connected. And why are we doing what we're doing? I don't know. But that's her. You know, we are all connected. We really, really are. And I'm sort of pulled to the rainbow that's around the baby, and I feel, you know, we have to find our own rainbow to happiness, and sometimes that's really hard with what's going on with the world. We know, especially, you know, particularly with the Ukrainian people, it's really, really hard to keep that rainbow of hope. But if we all keep praying for peace like we've been doing, and people have been, you know, donations, helping them find places to live, you know, I believe it will help. But that's her biggest message, is just to know that we are all connected, no matter what colour our skin, no matter what our nationality is. All right, until next time, this is Tracy, and take care, everyone.